Hey there, welcome to another Untapped Keg Reacts. RJ Reacts on Untapped Keg. We'll figure it out. Let's do this. I was sent this one, haven't watched it yet. It's about Steve-O. I know who Steve-O is. My failed interventions.
Yeah, dude. It's been over 25 years since my very first intervention, because on February 22nd of 1995, I was arrested for my first DUI. And when I called my mom collect from the jail, she said, "No way I'm bailing you out unless you go straight to rehab."
Steve-O looks really good.
But it was all a big failure because I didn't get clean and sober, did I? And 10 years later, in 2005, by that point, I was watching the show Intervention to make myself feel better about my own problem. And I was such a fan of the show that when my buddies and I made this movie called TV the Movie, which was a bunch of parody skits of TV shows, I was like, yo, let's make an intervention parody where I'm a kid's birthday party clown. It'll be hilarious. Mr. Cock and Balls.
Dang, I didn't know that they made that movie.
So I'm
and
this
also,
fucked up clown, and I think I'm going to a kid's party, and I crash this tricycle.
So if you're thinking, do I need to look at my relationship with anything, and you're watching videos of other people who need to get sober, whatever it is, if that's what you're doing, you need to rethink your relationship with it, because you're trying to make it okay doing this, and it's obviously not working for you. And that's why you have to seek out like people who are at the very bottom to be able to to show up. So I just want to point that out. Let's see where this goes.
Go through a door. I had that shit. I wrote that sketch all by myself, and the whole point was, if anybody tries to pull an intervention on me, they're gonna pay for it.
I think you know why we're all here.
Yeah, we're here to fucking party. And not only am I not gonna go to rehab, I actually set the interventionist on fire. Well, it's not safe telling me not to fucking party.
That just looks like your classic intervention, right?
I think it's funny. But anybody who knew me or cared about me didn't think it was funny at all, because it was just too true. And so ends a day of work. Yeah. As the years went
that
by,
sounds like
I got worse.
Playing out your subconscious.
And then in 2006, something really weird and fucked up happened, and I'm counting it as an intervention. We had a whole cast photo shoot for Jackass, and I showed up with all these drugs and alcohol, everything. I mean, I'm getting all fucked
Who's seen those
up.
pictures of
Steve-O?
Steve-O?
Dressed up as this like war general guy with like big samurai sword.
And it was just me and Steve-O. He was doing those, what is that? The
Whippets.
Whippets.
Knoxville, for a photo, comes up and like plunges the samurai sword through the backdrop.
And I ran at the wall with my sword, and I stabbed the wall, and it bounced off and went right into Steve-O's back.
He actually stabbed me in the back. And it wasn't that bad of a wound.
You could see the white meat. White and red meat.
It's not even as wide as the whole samurai sword. It was just the tip went in. It wasn't the kind of wound that required stitches. But they made me get them just so that they could stop me from doing more drugs that day.
He had it coming though.
Well,
And naturally, the next year, I was way worse. A bitch cooked me some fucking ketamine. At this point, shit was so crazy. If you can believe it, I had 2 failed interventions.
It's hard to watch this, I'm not
back-to-back.
gonna lie.
Because my sister in Florida knew that I was in deep trouble. She called the cops in LA, asking them to go into my apartment and see if I'm okay. And it was such a gnarly scene, as I described it to the paparazzi a couple nights later.
It's your favorite paparazzi right here, baby. What's up?
I went off the deep end. I got all drugged out. I took like 5 bars of Xanax. Like, I was huffing all this shit, and I woke up in my bedroom and it's full of police officers and firemen, and took a nightmare. I spent the night in the hospital.
And that paparazzi interview happened as I showed up to this nightclub to shoot a VH1 show.
Do you
about
notice
these old ladies
how much more calm his body language is?
How to party from me and Kim Kardashian.
Now we're going to learn how to
Party new school.
From Steve-O, though.
And then when we're shooting the bit in the nightclub, I'm like, hey, come on, old lady, come to the bathroom, and like, we'll do cocaine. I think the producers of that show were so disturbed by me at the nightclub that they asked me if they could do another shoot where they brought the ladies over to my apartment. So the ladies on camera sat me down and said, hey, you have a problem and this is an intervention. And I'm like, what? You're gonna come into my apartment and do what? And
interventions typically don't work because
I just flew off the handle.
they're all
and
defensive.
Told them they could not include that footage in the show, or like I would sue or something.
And it's
So
usually
the
about
show came
the
out, and it
person
was
doing
just
the
like
intervention
this
and not the
awkward,
person
like,
who
I'm
needs the
drinking.
intervention,
I left that
is what it
production
ends up
company
being.
with no story to tell except that it's fun to party with Steve-O, which it wasn't.
Oh, didn't you guys have fun when we all went out that night?
Yeah, that was fun that night.
It got to a point where I was just always hearing about how people were worried about me. And I was like, well, whatever.
Apparently, Johnny Knoxville and Bam went there to Howard Stern and told him that they're worried about me because I'm so out of control on drugs. I said, what else is new?
It got to the point where I was on the lookout for interventions. And then Dr. Drew came out with the show Celebrity Rehab. So when I saw him next, I actually showed up prepared to put up a fight.
I thought you might be trying to sign me up, so I brought security.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't even pretending to not know that I have a problem.
As an addict, he reserves his right to keep using.
But what I told Dr. Drew was, hey man, when I'm ready, then I'll do it.
I don't want to get in the way. I'm very professional about it.
That's how it
I
is a lot
never
of the
think I was
time,
gonna
right?
be
When I'm ready.
What I thought was that I just couldn't really go out as much. You know, so I did more just holing up at home in my apartment.
Cool.
This is
And at
this
this
is
point,
a
I
lot
was
of the
getting so
process.
fucked up that I started hearing voices and hallucinating where I'm watching people walk around who are never there. And I know I've said that before in previous videos, but we dug up footage of it actually happening.
Oh, wow.
Because young cunt's been going through the darkness.
You know what? Let me hurry up and get more going. Give me a band, balloon, get a balloon.
I can't imagine how hard it is to go through all these old videos.
That was me really
For somebody who
thinking
may
I
not
was
even be
talking
there,
to
but
someone I wasn't talking to. Nitrous is clearly the new demon.
And one of the main reasons for this video is that I actually hallucinated a full-on intervention, and we found footage of that shit happening too. I actually watched a group of people file into my apartment and sit down to have this formal talk with me. And I wasn't even really mad about it because I thought it was so cool. I love you. I grabbed my camera and tried to film it, but nobody was there. The living room was empty. Stuff like that happened kind of a lot, and I made a bit in my stand-up about it.
And that's when you know your problem is really serious. When your hallucinations are worried about
like,
you.
look at how closed his eyes are right
The
now.
problem with my plan to
Compared
just
to
stay
there.
at home doing drugs alone was that I developed a real habit of sending out mass emails, which I often included my family on. So they got so concerned, they really pressured me into going to see a psychiatrist to talk about what was going on. And I only agreed to do so if I could film it. So I went in there and told the guy what was going on.
Have you ever done like cocaine?
Yeah, tons of it.
Have you done anything prior to that as far as drugs?
Oh yeah, I've always loved drugs.
Were you hallucinating, like seeing things?
Yeah,
things that weren't there?
yeah. Like,
Wow.
I love hallucinating. Yeah.
You could say that psychiatrist visit was another failed intervention, and there really only was one more failure before the successful intervention that got me sober. This was in February of 2008. We went out to New York City to film
So
the
all of this
Jackass
happened
24-hour takeover
in, like,
of MTV.
3
and
years.
I show up in New York, there's a news crew there, and I tell them,
I just sit in my house just piling all the narcotics into my body that I possibly can. Namely ketamine, nitrous oxide, PCP, cocaine, you know. and I just get all kinds of results.
And this takeover was all the Jackass dudes running MTV's programming for 24 hours out of their headquarters. And I was on drugs for 24 hours before it started, and I did drugs the whole time I was there, like got some footage smashing cans on my head. Ow. Rapping terribly. I have come to attack. Yo, MTV Raps is back. And I totally didn't last all 24 hours because they intervened by kicking me out. And back then, getting kicked out of a Jackass deal for being too wasted was really something. You know what else is really something? My guest on Wild Ride with Steve-O this week was at the Jackass takeover. It is
Great plug right there.
Yes. Oh man, you don't want to miss this. So
look at that.
Right here.
Always a showman.
And what are you still doing here? We love Wee Man. Thank you. Okay.
So all of that, and we didn't even get to why he, like, I think that it's well documented, but what actually took for Steve-O. And the thing with interventions is they start from a place of blame or why don't you care about me as far as talking to the other person. And the thing is, that doesn't work. It never works trying to tell someone, care about me enough to change your entire life. Because that's what, when we talk about your relationship with alcohol, drugs, whatever, it starts with the person. And if it doesn't start with the person, it's not going to take. It doesn't matter if they're in rehab or not. The thing about rehabs too is that they take you out of your life. So you're surrounded by this amazing facility, these amazing people. You hear these great stories. Maybe you relate to it. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm not that bad. But then you get sober and clean and they throw you back out into life and, okay, you're good. See ya. And that's it. So all your triggers, everything that takes you to a space of, I would really like to drink, to escape, to not be in my life right now. They're all there and you don't actually address it. So that's why rehab has such a low success rate. Interventions have such a low success rate. It's not just about getting clean or being there for a month, for 30 days. It's about actually wanting to make that change and learning what you can do in your life to help facilitate that change. And that's what Steve-O's done. That is absolutely why he is sober now. He, is looking as good as he is. And honestly, it looks like he's going through life from a place of how he wants to now. And not a place of, this is what I need to do because I don't like being me. And when we can have that mindset and that frame around interventions or even like rehab, understanding that just the first 30 days, okay, great. What do you do after that? What is still in your life? And here's the truth. The people in your life are not going to help you move forward oftentimes. So sometimes there's people that can't stay when we make that change. It doesn't have to happen right away, but there are things that we can do to help us to make that change slowly. And maybe they're still in your life, it's just in a different capacity. So when you approach an intervention or you have somebody in your life that you want them to make a change, have a talk with them about them. Don't bring up the substance. Don't bring up anything else. Just, are you enjoying your life right now? Beyond the things that you think people want to see. Are you actually enjoying your life right now? And a lot of times people will say, no. Okay, what can I do to support you in creating a life that you will enjoy? What would you like to do? And that can be a starter that actually will get results. So, Marjorie Zimmerman from Untapped Keg, hit that subscribe button, share this with somebody who you think would benefit from it, and approach with compassion, and you will see better results. Have a great week. Love you all.